Peace, everyone. Peace, family. How is everyone doing? And if you don't already know, I am Akasha Divine, Goddess Akasha, if you will. And if you know me, you know I've been doing classes teaching about the Divine Feminine. And if you know or have been watching any of my content, you know I believe that it is a time of the matriarch rising, right? So I originally had a class planned out for this Friday on Goddess Day, which that's the time when I like to do it. But I think since I will be moving around and doing a lot of things on that day, I'm not sure if I'm gonna have time to sit down and be able to record and do a class for you guys. So I'm just coming on today. I know it's random, but I'm just coming on today to just speak what's on my mind, because I feel like there is some things that needs to be talked about, right? So just in general, I did have a class, my next class, which I decided to be about dimensions, right? And while that topic is interesting, I feel like many of us who have been on our journey, we know what the dimensions are. We know first dimension is a point, it's void, it's blackness. You know what I'm saying? There's really nothing there. The second dimension is when that point expands to another, and then we have a line. You know what I'm saying? So then after that, the third dimension is the one in which we're in now, where we have length and width. So now that point expands again, and from there it continues and continues and continues to expand, right? So length, width, and height. Length, width, and height. So we are in the three-dimensional plane. We know that, right? But a lot of us on our journey, of the spiritual journey, the spiritual path, a lot of us, we tend to talk a lot about transitioning into the new earth or the 5D realm. But I'm not sure if we all know exactly what that means. I mean, beyond the realm itself, like the physical reality of where we're living. Because if you sit here and you think about it in the simple terms of what the planet will be like, what our realm will look like outside of us as 5D beings, 5 density, 5 dimension beings, then you're not going to understand what the consciousness is. And I think a lot of us, we tend to say, okay, well, it's just going to be harmony. It's going to be, everyone loving each other. Oh, right? So then you get a community of people called light workers, right? So these are the people who are trying to transition and elevate their frequency so that we can get into this particular frequency. But do we really know what that is? And I just want to say, like, if we all strive for this, right? Why is it that we're still divided? And I think that's where I come in today, where I feel like I want to take a different turn or a different approach to how I want to talk to you guys about this topic, because I think we understand the dimensions in the case of the physical reality in itself. So we understand that dimensions, they double up on themselves as the number of dimensions get higher, right? So from third, it is said that third, next after that, it just doubles up from there. So from a square, you have a cube, then you have a hypercube, which would be the fourth dimension, and then it goes on and on and on, and all of the points in which you use to draw out these dimensions doubles up, and it just becomes this complex figure, right? So I think we understand that, and I think we can imagine what it would be like to be on the fifth dimension. But what I try to tell people is that the fifth dimension in itself is us actually going back in time, not necessarily moving forward in time, but going back in time. And again, if you also remember my class on time, you would understand that time is illusion, and this would explain a little bit more why, right? So instead of going into that, because I think I do need to go into that, but right now I am I'm called to go into us moving into 5D. Before I get into the dimensions of the reality, I think I'll come back to that. But right now I want to speak on our consciousness, where we are today, and how we plan on getting to this 5-dimensional frequency of consciousness as Nubian beings, right? So we speak about it, and we see each other going through the process, the journey, and trying to elevate ourselves. You know, it's very, very popular to gain a knowledge of self, but that looks different from each of us. There's many teachers that we go to learn or help guide us in this way. And I'm just going to have to point out a lot of the teachers that help us on this path are male. I'm just going to keep it real with you. You know, and then the females dominate the area of witchcraft or Wicca and tarot cards and Ifa and the mystical realm, right? And what we see is we have our males dominating the more logical or intellectual realm, which is expected. It's expected. But when it comes to a leader over us as a community or a village or people who want to get together to try and live amongst those who want to embody that 5-dimensional frequency, it seems as though the only person that we trust is the male figure, even though his dominating area would be the intellectual side. And I did speak about this before in another video, but on TikTok. But I definitely want to just get into it now because I think one thing that we're not realizing is that as we move into higher frequencies, we are inherently becoming more feminine. And I say that because when you think of your chakras, your lower chakras are of the masculine type. So you have your root chakra, your sacral, your solar plexus. Those are masculine chakras, right? And once you go through to your heart, your throat, your third eye and crown, those are feminine chakras. So the same thing would kind of mimic going into wanting to vibrate higher as a being. When you vibrate higher, that means you're connecting yourself and activating the higher chakras, which means you're going more so into your feminine, out of survival and into your thriving and being, less doing, more being type of mode, right? So if we're manifesting and trying to cultivate this type of reality where we are in a state of flow and ease and living a life of less resistance, and we are in harmony with each other, we know how to communicate, we're not arguing all the time, there isn't this air of competition between people, we're not putting each other down, we're not manipulating each other, you know what I'm saying? We're taking care of the earth, we're taking care of the animals, we're having a more conscious and intentional type of nutritional diet. We take care of our bodies, we're going to Mother Earth to heal us. This is the type of, reality that we're trying to build for ourselves. And it seems as though a lot of us agree with this, right? But I think in general, if we decide that we want to build a community based off of the generic principles of love and unity, it's not that simple. And I want to be able to express this in a way of saying it's not as simple as me also saying, okay, well, it's time for the matriarch to rise and now we should be led by a woman. Like, that has to be explained, and the ideas that we each would get in our heads about what that may look like will always differ, because we each have a different relationship with the feminine energy in general, and that may be from women and men, right? So I was just watching the documentary Surviving R. Kelly, right? Which, one thing I didn't want to do at the time was watch it at the time, because I was already watching the news and the interviews and all that stuff. So I thought I didn't really need to watch the documentary or whatever, especially knowing the verdict. But I ended up watching it today for whatever reason. So I watched it, and as I'm watching it, I'm sitting here, and what I'm thinking about as I'm watching it is, well, within this community that we are building, one thing that we all assume as far as we jump into 5D is like, we're all of a sudden going to assume that we're all going to be magically healed and like all at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And I want us to come back and be grounded into the reality that everyone heals at a different pace. So that means I beg the question to us as a community, how do we deal with those of us who need more healing than others or who need more time? How do we deal with predatory behavior? How do we deal with manipulating behaviors? How do we deal with people who may still be vibrating on a lower frequency? How do we deal with that? And the reason why I ask that is because there's this issue, which is our biggest issue, which is why we're going to have trouble uniting in the first place, is the divide between the Nubian man and the Nubian woman, right? So that is our biggest thing. It's a big divide. It's causing us to be very stagnant as a whole, as a unit, right? So my question is, you know, if I speak to some of the men, there is this notion that the Black woman is an agent or co-spirator to the Caucasian man, and through his oppression through the system, he would also feel that his enemy is us, right? So, which is why it's very, very hard for most men to even fathom the idea of having a woman lead and guide an entire community or nation of people. Like, that is just so far from their mind because they feel that the divine feminine is an agent against him, right? So if he feels this, right? Because my thing is, right, we live in a society, and one thing we know is that Black women do stand up and they advocate for the Black man. I can sit here and say, I'm not going to sit here and give you proof. I'm not going to write a whole dissertation and come to you with this. I think we can all sit here and use our own critical thinking and see that the Black woman does advocate for and fight for the freedom and upliftment of the Black man. You know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but do your research. I'm not going to sit here and run it down to you, okay? Just you needing some convincing in that statement just says how much healing needs to happen, you know, with you. You know what I'm saying? So if we have it to a system where, number one, we all agree that we want to go and we all want to live in this 5D consciousness. We all want to live there. We all feel we can do it, right? How, as the new earth beings, new earth and Nubian beings, right? How do we handle offenders, predators, people who would go against the laws that we make? Because now it's laws that we make, not the laws of the government, right? Because if we are creating this community to be self-sustaining, to be self-sufficient, right? We want to create our own, right? We're getting out of the game that's rigged and creating our own, right? We would also have a set of rules and order, which we do. So how do we handle, you know, someone who breaks those rules? And this question is for all of the goddesses because, again, in order for us to build this, I am looking to, you know, I'm looking to just appeal to those matriarchs out there. So if you feel this is you, if you feel that, you know, you're ready to build this matriarchal queendom and you want to build this thing and start healing our people, then hit me up in my inbox, DM me, we need to have a serious conversation. We need to start getting this thing done, because I feel like a lot of us has felt this energy for a long time, but it's like no one is really doing anything technically, or we still have a lot of things that hold us back, that we're not really to step out of our comfort zones at a moment, right? So my thing is, to my sisters, right? To my sisters, how do we handle this type of behavior? How do we handle anyone who isn't healed? Because it's very unrealistic to think that people are all going to heal and grow and just end up on this frequency at the same time all at once, and everyone's just going to be hunky-dory. No, it's going to be work. It's going to take work and time and patience to get everyone on the same level. And I think that is realistic, and I'm not sure if we're actually ready for doing that kind of work as a collective, because what that does is it not only puts certain people in a space where they have to take accountability for their actions, but what it does is it puts us in a space where now we have to be our brother's keeper or be our sister's keeper. We have to step in and hold other people accountable, because, you know, it's hard for people to hold themselves accountable. You know what I'm saying? So that means we have to look out. That means in this new reality, we have to stop enabling. We have to stop covering up for predators in our family, or pedophiles. We have to stop doing that. You know what I'm saying? We can't protect someone simply because they're black. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sounds crazy in a sense, but I think while we move into this new era, we have to prioritize truth above all things. Not really just our emotions, but just truth. So if we're living in the era of truth and unity, that means we're a family. So, but how do we treat our families now in this particular, dimension? Right now, the way in which we treat our families is we're very, very individualistic. We kind of move and prioritize our own personal cluster of, immediate family who lives in our home, mother, father, children, and us. Pretty much it may be a auntie, or maybe a grandmama, or maybe a grandpapa, right? But outside of that, most times we don't even have connections to all of our families, like the extended family, like, you know what I'm saying? So as a community, we would be stepping into a new paradigm of living and operating with an extended family, because we are a soul tribe, right? So if that's something we're not even used to doing right now, like, how do you think we're going to be able to step into that, like, instantaneously one day? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't really happen. It takes practice. So within that, I'm trying to get us to think about the practicality of what it is that we're trying to accomplish as a whole. So, we have to start operating in a familial way. We have to start operating in a communal way. So that means if we know Uncle Herbert was doing stuff to us or as a child, that means, say something, do something, don't just let him be however, and then continue to have the new generations and the new generations go and be around Uncle Herbert. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, and I'm just saying that because, again, I was just watching Surviving R. Kelly. So that's the focus that I'm on right now. So it's just like, how do we handle these things? You know what I'm saying? And my question to my brothers, my men, my Nubian black men, right? My question to you guys is, while you may want to live in this new age 5D reality, my question to you is, if you already believe that the black woman is your enemy or conspirator, right? How would you be able to accept a government or a council of divine feminine creating laws? Would you obey them? And what would you expect a punishment to be if you did not obey them? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what would you expect the consequence to be? Because there has to be consequences for everything, right? So my other question is, if you feel that the black woman is working with the white man to keep you down under an unjust system, are you ready to leave that system? Is my question. That's my biggest question. And the question with that is not just are you ready to leave that system, but when you leave that system, that would mean that you would accept a system made by people that look like you, as in melanated beings. Like, are you ready to leave that system and accept a new system made by us? That's the question. And I think that's a very, very big question. And I really want to ask that to some people. And I don't mean just like any man who like already respects the divine feminine, because I know his answer will be yes. But anyone who truly believes in the notion that the black woman is against him, like, you know, those type of men that every time you speak to them is kind of like he's already on defense for no reason. That's the type of person that I need to speak to and ask him, like, if you feel that this system is unjust, are you really willing to get up out of that system and be under a new system that's made by us? Like, would you respect it as much? Because one thing that we have been indoctrinated with since slavery is being able to see the Caucasian in a particular light that we don't see each other, which is why they're still in power at this particular moment. So if the people of lighter hue, the lightest hue, are the ones that we see as saviors or protectors or leaders, or just those who create or build, if we see them in that way, it has created a subconscious level of respect, whereas when it comes to each other, we don't really give each other that same kind of respect. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I always ask, like, are we ready for what exactly we're asking for? You know what I'm saying? Are we truly ready? You know what I'm saying? Because, let me see. If we create a matriarchy, we must create ways to enforce laws created by the matriarchs. I agree. And I feel that that would require the strength of the nation. The strength of the nation is our men. The strength of our nation. That's why you guys were built. You guys were created to be the protectors, right? So if at this particular point our protectors are not really protectors, but they are the victims of our society, how do we, with all of the upliftment that we're doing now, and they can't really see it as much, or a majority can't really see it, how do we uplift them to the point where they step back into their natural role to become protectors again? You know what I'm saying? You know, so that way we would have the enforcers of the law, right? The women make the law, the men enforce it. That's the natural order of things, right? So how would we get these men uplifted to the point where they become who they're supposed to be? To the point where the only people that would, deflect or disobey or create a crime, which is not the word that I would use, but if they are low vibrating and do something against Ma'at law, how it would only be a select few. It wouldn't be a lot. Because right now, if I were to sit here and look at our people right now and judge based on Ma'at law, we don't have any enforcers, because all of those who would be our enforcers would be those who need the law enforced upon, if that makes sense. So right now, those would be the low vibrating males that have a hard time seeing, or I just have a hard time vibrating on a higher level in general. Like, because their desire to heal is just not prioritized. Like, you know what I'm saying? So those people who would have trouble with my outlaw would be those who aren't vibrating high, right? But if I look at it right now, especially the conversations I've been having lately, it's very difficult to have a conversation with someone whose mind is already made up and they're not trying to see anything else. Like, and these are not like young men I'm talking about. These are not like teenagers or anyone in their like 20s. This is like 30 and up I'm talking about. So 30 and up, you have it in your mind that you need to be a certain way. Patriarchy is ingrained, misogyny is ingrained, all of these things are ingrained in you, to where it's like your outlook on life is, I don't need to change, I'm good, this is how I'm supposed to be, everyone else around me needs to change, right? So how do we deal with those kind of individuals? Like, you know what I'm saying? And those kind of individuals are a lot in number. So this is why I sit here and I'm like, are we, some of us, people who are trying to, usher in the new earth or the new age, how realistic are we at creating this reality? You know what I'm saying? How realistic are we technically at creating this reality? And that's my question for us who are conscious, us who are on this path. Like, have really thought about the type of work it would take, and how would we handle these type of situations with the stubborn 3D consciousness people? And I say that because right now I can sit here and look at our people, and I said this to somebody before, I forgot who I was talking to, but I'm sitting here and I'm like, I feel like the women are more into, evolving themselves consciously than the men are, which is why I feel it's a hard time right now to try and even date each other, and why a lot of times women just don't want to date, just want to be single, and why men are deciding to go overseas to find wives, because they're just not clicking or connecting with the women that's here. And I think that's basically because of our difference in consciousness. So I basically said that women are on 4D and men are still on 3, and that's why that's what I said. And again, what that means is that, again, I'll just go back to defining the dimensions. So the third dimension is length, width, and height. So that's where you have a cube, right? So we see things, and honestly, we could sit here and look at a side of a shape, but we wouldn't be able to see the actual shape. Like, we could look at a rectangular box and not know that it's rectangular because we're seeing it from one side. So we would just see a square and just assume that it's a square box, like a cube, right? But it can easily be a rectangle because we can't see the depth of what it is until we turn and start walking around it, right? So the same thing is kind of like with the male psyche. Like, he kind of just sees point A and point B, but he can't really see point C, right? But I feel that the woman can see point A, point B, and point C, and that's where the issue comes in when it comes to having deeper connected conversations, whereas she's able to see the whole situation from a bird's eye view. I call it the eagle mentality. Like, she can see things from above, so she's able to see the truth of a situation, where he can only see one aspect of a situation, so they tend to argue and there's a disconnect there. So that's why I sit here and I say, okay, men are on 3D and women are on 4D. So the difference between 3D and 4D is 4D, you're able to see the truth. I call it the truth realm. That's just what I call it. People call it different things, but I call it the truth realm. So this is not just seeing left, right, up, down, forward and back, but it's also seeing in and out. So that's where you have people who are able to feel energy, and they're able to tell whether someone's going to be your friend or not, right? Whereas someone else who's in the situation could be completely blind to the energy of a person. So that's the difference between the levels of consciousness, if you can kind of understand what I'm saying. So that's like your mother looking at your friends and be like, they ain't your friends. Or your girlfriend talking about, oh, those are not your real friends. Don't go into business with this person. That person is shady. That type of intuitive knowledge is a sense outside of the five senses, right? So that sometimes, honestly, we're all supposed to have that, but sometimes not many people can cultivate that skill or sense as well as others. So that's why I feel like women are just on a higher dimension in general than men, and we're kind of just put here in this 3D realm. We're in the same realm, but we're operating on different dimensional frequencies, and that's possible for many dimensions. Okay. So even when it comes to 5-dimensional consciousness, we would then have more control of our reality. You know what I'm saying? So not just being able to see the truth of a reality, but be able to enhance that. So let's enhance that like tenfold, enhance all of our senses tenfold. You know what I'm saying? So then we will be able to which some of us have this type of ability now, to be able to activate some senses, activate before an object gets to you. So I'm just gonna keep it personal. So I can what you would say, I can call people telepathically, and it could be someone that I haven't heard from in a long time, and I would, you know, have a desire to call them, and I would want to call them, but I won't pick up the phone. And then they would hit me up the next day, and it would be like, oh, hey, you know. So it's basically, I'm able to call people telepathically. That's something I'm able to do. I'm also able to know when someone's calling, when someone is going to contact me. So if someone's going to contact me, I would smell them. And that sounds weird. It sounds weird. Don't judge me. But I think this is why when I connect with people, I connect with them on a very primal scent-based type of connection. So I would smell their scent. And then I remember one time I was on a bus, and I smelled the person, and I turned around like, oh, you know, it's my friend here. But then I'm like, wait a second, I haven't heard from such and such in like a year, and I smell them, and the smell is so strong, and I'm like, it's almost like they're sitting next to me, but I'm looking around and they're not on the bus at all. And I'm just like, well, and I just felt so annoyed because I'm smelling someone who's not next to me, and it's just like, and it's not like perfume or cologne or anything like that. It's their actual scent. It's their actual personal scent, like their pheromones. That's what I'm smelling. And then they would hit me up like the next day. So I know when someone's going to hit me up beforehand, and I know, and I can call people telepathically. So these are the type of gifts that we would be able to have, and it would be just more prominent in the 5D. And the 5D would be very, very, what you call it, outward, or like on the surface, very normal, like very, very normal, very easily accessible. You don't have to practice. Like right now it's very like introverted. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Our higher senses are subtle right now for those who do experience, you know, extrasensory perception, right? But some of us don't at all. Like, you know, sometimes you can look at something and taste it, or you can taste something just from its memory, or you can feel a texture just by thinking about it, like, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of things in which, you know, we would be able to do as 5-dimensional beings. And that is, one of them is what I like to call the dimension of full control, which is I feel when we step into our godhood. Like, you know what I'm saying? When we fully step into it and we can access all of our senses, even the intuitive one, which is activated through our hair. So that is the energetic perception, right? When we're able to feel danger or things like that, you know? And what else? There was another one. We're able to have our hearing would end up be activated with echolocation. All the type of senses that the animals have that we don't, we would be heightened in our senses to end up on the same level as some of the animals, basically. So, yeah. So, again, if anyone knows the name of that particular sense that I have where I could smell somebody and they're not near me yet, tell me what that is. I don't know, that's weird. But yeah, let me know what that is. But I feel in general, like, outside of our abilities or what's going to happen, it's very unrealistic to think that everyone's going to raise in consciousness at the same time and at the same rate. So some people are going to struggle more than others, and we have to prepare and know how we're going to handle the transition for some of us who are having a little bit more trouble. So that's why I'm in this moment, like, you know, I want to be able to take the time and just have a segment. Maybe I'll start a segment where we sit and we have discussions, and we get to ask each other difficult questions, like, you know what I'm saying, difficult questions, and we start preparing or putting into practice and start actually making the moves to making this our reality, other than just sitting there thinking about it, talking about it, and hoping that it's going to happen magically, but we're not making any particular changes. It all takes self-change within each of us. So, yeah, I'm ready for that. Well, I've been ready for that, but I'm ready for that. And I'm just looking in general for any sisters, any goddesses who have that matriarchal energy. If you feel that this is something you're already trying to do and you're looking for help in that, then we can collaborate, like, you know what I'm saying? So DM me on that. Any men who feel like this is something that you have been desiring or wanting to do, DM me. And we can start working on this. We can start having the serious conversations that need to be had on the structure, the infrastructure, how this is going to be done, what's to be expected, what is it really going to look like outside of just love, harmony, and hugs and kisses, because there's going to be a lot more than that. And I want us to be realistic, right? Because if we stay within our optimism and we stay within, you know, our just imagination, it can look beautiful, but we have to be realistic. Like, it can be beautiful in a realistic way. So that also means preparing for the unexpected. That means expecting what you should be expecting anyway. So preparing for this life and all that comes with it. So if we come across someone who feels like raping is okay, right? Like a King Noble. Just throwing names out there. But I say that because there was a video of him talking about, oh, men should take it. Sorry. But I'm just saying, there are some of us who are in the spiritual and conscious community, right? And we have these ideals. So how do we handle that? Like, you know what I'm saying? I think this is a very valid question, and I think we're not talking about it. I feel we just sitting here just talking about the perfectionism of it, which doesn't really make sense because we're not perfect beings, especially not at 5D, because there's way more than that, way more dimensions than that. And that's just the beginning of getting back to source in general. That's just the beginning. It's not even close. But I'm just saying, like how, you know what I'm saying? How do we get there? Okay, so I'm basically talking about us transitioning into 5-dimensional reality. That's what I'm talking about today. And the realisticness of how we're going to do that. Who is willing to do that? And what are we really prepared for, technically, on this journey? What are we willing to do? Because what I see is us talking about the fantasy of it, the perfectionism of it, and we're kind of staying in our little bubbles, not really doing the legwork, not really communing with each other. And right now, understanding the 5-dimensional frequency, that would mean that you would have to commune with those that you disagree with. You would have to agree, obviously, on some level, some basic level, right? But there's going to be times of disagreement, and you have to handle that with grace and poise, and still be able to see that person, talk to that person, shake hands with that person, operate with that person, trade with that person, whatever. And we are in a space where we have a choice right now. We have a choice, and so what happens is we have falling outs with each other, and then we don't talk to each other no more, because we are basing our decisions off of emotions. But if we truly want to build this particular environment, and we want to do this, we have to be able to get past our emotions, and we have to be able to speak through discord. Like, you know what I'm saying? We have to be able to, like, harmony doesn't just happen. We make it happen. As creators, we create harmony. We create a community that is unified. But it doesn't just happen. Like I feel like we think it's just going to happen outside of us, and then we're just going to go along with the ride. And I think because we have been dependents our entire lives, we don't know how to take a stand and actually do anything for ourselves. We've been under this particular patriarchal government for so long, we don't know how to run anything ourselves. So we're still waiting on someone to, come along with a chariot that we just sit in the back and just chill, and go along for a ride, and things just happen. And that's very unrealistic. I feel like we need to be able to get up and do the work. Like, you know what I'm saying? We have to be able to get up and do the work. And I feel like a lot of us aren't ready to really do the work. Like, can you sit and talk to someone that you disagree with? And this was the challenge that I had with my last dark download. I spoke about us being able to sit and have a conversation with someone that we disagree with, and see how you can come to a space of understanding each other without it being, so uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Without it being any disrespect. Like, can we do that? I think we need to focus on trying to do that. And that is so basic and so small, but it's so big, and it's such an obstacle in our growth as a unit. And I think we need to start thinking of us as a unit, and not just me and you and them over there. No, because that's still separation. We're still all one. Aren't we all just pieces of source? And if we're trying to get back to source, we have to be able to come together, mold and mend together. When you take different pieces of clay, you put it together and you make a shape, right? I'm just saying. So that means you have to be able to see each other as extensions of yourselves, which is the philosophy that we teach in polyandry, which is how a lot of men can be in a marriage with one woman, because they see each man as brothers or extensions of themselves. So that kind of eliminates the whole, jealousy and envy type thing going on that would be there otherwise, because it's not about you. Like, it's no longer individualistic. We have to throw away that individualistic mindset and get back our nationhood. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, whoever is ready to do this work, I am basically calling out to you guys, men, women, whomever. I'm calling out to you to have these type of discussions and to actually put in the work and just do it. Like, if you feel that this is something you've been trying to accomplish, please hit me up and we could talk. We could do lives, whatever, and we could just talk to the people. If we, you know, what does this look like? You know, what are we trying to build? Does it really match, or are we just like, does love and unity look different in all of our minds? You know what I'm saying? So that's my question for us as a people. And again, I want to thank you all so much for coming to my live. It was definitely spur of the moment, but I definitely have a lot that I want to say. And this is, I'm nowhere near done with this conversation at all, but I'm glad I was able to get it out and you guys were here to, you know, be with me and everything. But I want to continue this conversation as often as possible with those who are truly ready. Truly ready. Okay, that means you're ready to go through the hardships of it too. Not just the highs, but the lows, right? You know, so hit me up. My DM is open. And I'm ready to do the work. So let me know if you are. Yes, it is time for us to come together. So yeah. Until next time. So again, just a reminder, I'm not too sure if I'll be able to go live on Friday because I'm busy that day, which is why I went live today. But I'll see you all next time, and I will let you all know when I'm going live. I'll do my very best to let you all know when I'm going live, and we can continue this conversation. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your night, and remember to worship the Yoni. Okay? Good night.